There we go. Right. Let's press the buttons. There we go. We better get cracking straight away. Guys, gals, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary. It is Wednesday night. Well, it's just after 7:30 p.m. And this is the BOTW What's Current stream, your NIHL Cup Final Sidecast edition. My name is Anthony Russell. Welcome back for what is a bit of an experiment this evening. Seem to have done a few of these recently, but what we're doing is we are doing tonight's show. Normally, it would be Wednesday night, 8 p.m. here on the BOTW YouTube channel, but with the Cup Final starting tonight at 7:30, I asked the audience, a couple of people said they just wanted the regular show, and fair respect to them for that. However, the majority said they wanted a sidecast. So here is what you need to do if you haven't already. Make sure you head over very, very quickly now. Get your streams from the whole Seahawks website for tonight's first leg between the Seahawks and the Lightning. We are going to chat through the game as it goes on. We'll be live here talking our way through it. We're going to talk about all the news, of course, from across all the bits of the NIHL. But of course, we need to go through our usual bits and pieces because, of course, we do focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter. That is our home port, and we have the NIHL National Division Cup Final here now. But, of course, we go through the entirety of the NIHL structure. That's all 5 divisions. That means the National Division as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. Certainly, the lights have gone down at the Hull Arena already. You can see there from just looking at the lineups in front of me. So I've got one screen to my side here. I've got you guys in front of me as well. Usual bits of housekeeping. Banners on the wall at wordpress.com. That is the website. Your best source for everything related to the NIHL. Follow me on my journey this year across British hockey, with the Bison having walked into the wilderness for the time being. I've been on my journey across hockey, whether it's Britain. I've gone for the length of England into Scotland. I've gone to Germany this year and across the NIHL. The latest piece of course went up yesterday evening. I went to the Solent Junior Devils against Peterborough Phantoms 2 down in Gosport. Fascinating game because of the fact that the two sides had nothing to play for. Lots of fun to be had there. Very, very entertaining game, it should be said, for the £7 I paid to get in. But of course, they've got the entirety of this season. You've got a Hockey Stories series, which of course goes across the length and breadth of crazy stories from across hockey from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into World War II and beyond. Our most recent piece, of course, definitely not so much about war, but a man who's been in some wars. Our most recent piece, of course, with Tom Norton of the Peterborough Phantoms as we prepare for his testimonial this upcoming May. And then, of course, you'll hear on the YouTube channel. Check the description below for the links to all of our socials, as well as our virtual busking hat at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. And then, of course, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. And then and you can join in with all the madness that comes. Of course, you've got our latest video piece here on the YouTube channel, part of the series I'm doing with the Solent Devils, the detail in the Devils, where I had a good hour-long chat with netminder Mark Duffy. Either way, the lights are down at the Hull Arena. The disco lights and the spotlights are wheeling their way around. Hope everyone's doing all right. The big thing, of course, as well, if this is going to work, it's about you guys joining in too. And you've got the chat over there on the right-hand side. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything that pops into your head as you're watching the stream during the game. Let's just let's just watch the game together, have a chat about some bits and pieces. We'll go through the news, we'll go through the other bits and pieces from across the NIHL as it's happening, and basically just have a bit of fun. I've got cake, because the wife has made cake, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. All I ask is, if you do chuck stuff in the chat, please do remember the golden rule here at BOTW. DBAD, don't be a dick, be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings as we get rocking and rolling with the National Division, the National Cup Final. Plenty of excitement, of course. Here, just having a quick check of bits and pieces, make sure all the links have gone out and everything like that. Everything has gone live, which is what we're after. A big shout, of course, to Connor Lynn up in Hull. Of course, he's commentating on tonight's game for the Seahawks. I had a very, very brief chat with him earlier as well. I know some people were a bit confused as to kind of what is a sidecast, what does it all mean, and the like. But yeah, we're not trying to take away from anyone or anything. We're just trying to get a bit more of sort of engagement, which is why I've definitely said, buy the stream. Like, there are conversations that we can all have about the value for money in this, that, and the other. But actually, what we want is we want eyes on the national division. We want eyes on the NIHL. We want eyes on the product, and we want folk to be able to kind of join in and enjoy what is going on. So that's kind of what we're here for. Can I say how nervous I am? I'm not surprised at all, Jamie. Are you an MK fan? Of course, we do need to ask the big question here. We won't ask about the tie. Let's just ask about tonight. Who wins tonight in this first leg? Do we get a win for the Hull Seahawks? Do we get a win for the MK Lightning, or do we get a tie on the night heading back to Milton Keynes next week? Looking like a pretty full crowd. Just having a look there. But can you say how nervous you are? Yes, absolutely you can, Jamie. It's going to be... I do not blame you being nervous at all. Anyone who's ever been in this kind of situation knows knows how nervy these bits and pieces will definitely be. Just trying to load up a few bits of stats as well as we're chatting away. Working on things. Of course, both teams in their special jerseys tonight. Hull kind of in that sort of gold jersey that they've got themselves into. There we go. Just trying to get a few bits and pieces up. Going to have minimal amounts of graphics and bits and pieces tonight, just because, of course, we're going to focus on kind of talking about the game. But, of course, we'll chat through bits and pieces. We'll chat through the results as much as humanly possible, too. So it should be an interesting one. I am going to very quickly, whilst they're heading towards the anthems, I'm just going to have a bite of the lemon square. As we let that bit play out, I have no qualms about talking over the national anthem on my own stream and not having too much dead air. See, here's one of the few occasions actually where I think, even though I don't like the national anthem, I think a cup final is kind of one of those periods where I think that the anthem is appropriate, as it were, in terms of a setting. Lots of countries across Europe don't really do cups in this kind of way anymore, but certainly have in the past. But certainly a playoff final series, cup final, I think is probably the kind of appropriate moment to kind of have the anthem. I just am not a particularly big fan of ours, it should be said. But such is life. Not everyone agrees on everything. Bearball can see Hull going back to MK with a 1-goal lead. If MK can keep to that, they probably take the W. And I think that's probably the big issue there, is that you'd fancy MK to be able to score heavily at home. But then people thought that about Leeds when Hull played them. And ultimately, we saw what happened there, which was Hull just doing the business. Matty Davies kind of had the perfect game plan. And it all kind of came to fruition very, very quickly. Teams, of course, just huddling there at their net. That is good cake. My wife is the best, it should be said. So over 2,000 people in Hull for the game. That's fantastic when you think about that. And I tweeted, obviously, recently as well. It was the 5th of April, 2022, where I let it known into the world that I was aware that a team was being brought back to Hull. It's the 20th of March, 2024. We are less than 2 years removed from that tweet. And we are at this point now with the Hull Seahawks, with a team that's obviously got some guys that they've added into it. Emil Svekinor and Sobchak aren't from Hull. But lots of guys who have grown up in and around Hull hockey. And here they are on one of the biggest stages that the NIHL can afford, the National Division Cup final. Andrew Day, of course, man who we discovered the other day, has been doing his bits and pieces for about 10 years as the cup final is underway. But yeah, Watching streams, he'll be in and out. Did a poll on Twitter/X. Who would win tonight? 44% MK, 44% Hull, and the rest said a draw. That tells you how tight the game is. That's a big chance already early. And then Salem getting a whack in the back from Jordan Headley for his trouble. Lathan Salem starting out how he would very much like to. It's been such a long time since I've been to Hull, actually. It was a shame I didn't get the opportunity to kind of go up there this year, but had to keep a promise to the Folk and Soul way to kind of get up there. And then obviously just the logistics of going as far as it is for me from here to Hull. On the screen, those MK... What do people think of the cup jerseys as well? Because certainly it's an interesting choice of yellow for the Seahawks. I'm not a big fan of the detail on the Lightning jerseys, although I'm watching on a bit of a smaller screen here, and they do look pretty decent. I'm quite happy about those. Good energy, I think, to kind of start the game so far. Plenty going on. But yeah, anything you want us, like I say, just chuck stuff in the chat. Any thoughts, any points that you've got from watching it. And we've got pushing and shoving already. One of the Hamels there getting stuck in very, very quickly, which is no surprise to anybody whatsoever. In terms of bits and pieces tonight as well, like I say, just because the show's going to be longer as a result, because we're going to watch the game together. My wife might walk in and across the background. You know, it's her house too. She's obviously very kind during the show and sort of keeps out of the show. But like I say, tonight we're just doing things differently. We're just going to run it and kind of see how we do. Don't have much in the way of sort of extra graphics, but we're just going to kind of rock and roll with bits and pieces. We're chatting, like I say, during the breaks. We'll kind of talk about the news from the other divisions. We'll talk about the fact, of course, we now have all of our league champions from across the NIHL structure now. That's all been confirmed, as well as we have champions in the Scottish National League to boot. We'll go through the results. We'll talk about a bit more about my weekend down in Gosport again, which has been a very good place for me this year. The Junior Devils have provided quite a good chunk of entertainment for me this year, it should be said. So very, very sort of pleased about having had the opportunity to go and watch them a little bit as we've gone along. I don't know why that is running in particular. A bit of a weird, one of those sort of weird sort of diagnostic programs is running for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. There we go. But yeah, great to see folk obviously out tonight kind of joining in. Obviously a bit of a different thing. We've got to keep an eye on the stream too. I've missed, if someone would be kind enough to put in the chat who the referees are, because I've missed who the officials were this evening. That'd be appreciated. Not a huge surprise that Hull have come out very physical, being on home ice. This is a Matty Davies coach side, of course. I think the really big thing here for Hull is being able to make themselves some space, because they kind of need to do something for themselves and not let MK do exactly the same thing, because given how offensively potent MK are, that ability to be able to turn things on a switch, giving guys like Lawrence, like Rutkiss, giving them Stewart, giving them any room to manoeuvre is going to cause them a bit of a problem. Plenty going on though, and you're kind of enjoying it. I do wonder whether how the Lightning are going to approach this game. Sewell and Williams. Now that's a very good combination. I quite like that. I like that one in terms of giving a couple of members who aren't of the Taffia a big game. I think is pretty good as well. Certainly for me, I'm quite pleased. I'm just going to move my secondary screen. The commentary is energetic and excitable as you would appreciate for a couple of guys who've been involved in a club that's made its first cup final. Connor's doing a sterling job though. I don't know about other folk as well. I've been watching a fair chunk of kind of player hockey from other places. Watched a good bit of the Austrian game yesterday from Klagenfurt and Pustertal. Oh, here we go. And a massive chance there for Owen Bruton. And that's the difference maker that Jordan Headley can kind of be in these kind of games, is just able to make those big saves in big moments. So here's the problem though for the Seahawks, is giving that level's worth of space to someone like Malik Martelli to skate into. Hint of offside on that one, but apparently not. Time for some cake, I think. Yeah, I've not seen a lot of Craig Williams as an official this year, so Heselwood and Fraley as the Lions people. I think they generally work a bit further north than I get to see. Good level of intensity to start this game as well. But really, I wondered how Hull would handle the occasion, and ultimately they've been absolutely fine to kind of start the period. The clock on the screen does appear to be quite wrong though, so we shall see what they do to amend that in one of the breaks. Picture quality appears to have gone up as well in recent streams. You probably are ahead of me, Jamie. I think this is the issue, of course. Cake is very good. But yes, don't worry, folks, if kind of streams are out of sync with each other. My internet, your internet, and the like. That's just what it's going to be tonight. It's about the conversation. It's about the kind of enjoying it together and the like. I think that's what we can kind of focus on here. Obviously, an MK man down there for a little bit. Bit of a perfunctory pushing and shoving there. Doesn't appear to have any real intent to kind of get involved. Karen there watching the Australian under-18s game between Australia and Spain. And you know what? Given that you're Australian, Karen, I will let you off on that one. I can't remember. Karen, can you remind us what division that is? Because I'm pretty certain that the Spanish Ice Hockey Association are streaming all of the games from this tournament, but I just can't remember for the life of me what division of Worlds it is. But certainly I saw that I saw Australia. I believe Australia beat Israel. Did they lose their second game? I'm pretty certain the Australians lost their second game. Oh, the net is... Well, the net looked quite drastically off there. 2B, thank you. I mean, the goal seemed to be quite a distance away from being on for quite an amount of time. Now, of course, the referees will let the net kind of be off because a lot of times the goalie will just kind of pop it back on. Arnold and Heselwood, okay. But yeah, a lot of lost. They lost against China. They definitely beat Israel though. I think I saw they almost put double figures on Israel in that one. But yeah, so that's definitely a lot of... The one that I was a bit disappointed I missed was I think it was one of the Division 3 ones. I didn't realise the Division 3 ones in I think it was in Kyrgyzstan. They've been broadcast recently that Thailand have won, which is pretty impressive. I'm pretty certain as well. I'm pretty certain the Division 4 World, so the bottom level of IHF Championship hockey is going to be will be on YouTube. I believe it's in. I believe it's in one of the Middle Eastern sort of Emirati countries. I can't remember which one. But that was a fascinating tournament last year. The Division 4 Worlds in Ulaanbaatar, that was won by the Philippines. That was pretty fun tournament. Just having a look here. So of course I will get to see MK on Saturday because I will be there we are as well. A little mention for us on the commentary. A big thank you to Connor for that. But yeah, I will be in Swindon on Saturday. So having had a couple of weeks in Division 2, because of course I did the Guildford versus Haringey game, did that commentary for them, and then I was in Gosport on Saturday. Back into the National Division for me this weekend. Swindon versus MK. I seem to have a habit of turning up in Swindon after big things have happened. But I hadn't actually seen MK with my own eyes for quite some time. And it just worked out really well for this weekend. Unsure what happens the weekend after that, because of course the weekend of the 30th and the 31st is playoff quarterfinal weekend in Division 1 and Division 2, so I'm not quite sure where I'm going. Oh, that's a goal! Oh, suit. And that is the problem with playing MK, is that we talked about it though, didn't we? We talked about that ability to just twist the knife really quickly. Lovely outlet pass. The Balmer is far too far back. And then Disco just skates in and he just fires that one in. I don't know why we're getting the interview visuals there for a minute. Big goal, really big goal, really early. Of course, not. What are we now? I mean, the clock keeps jumping around there. So just about 8 minutes into the game. Not what you want if you're Hull, but that's the danger of Milton Keynes. That's the quality they've got. Of course, defense stretched out of position. Balmer, I think for me, Balmer probably should have stepped up and into that one, but he's also got to protect that side of the ice for the man potentially coming down the other side as well. But it's just given Liam Stewart the middle of the ice to play into, which is not what you want. And Hull now have to turn some of that physicality and some of that intensity into kind of directioned attacking output as much as anything else. Not the best of starts for Hull, but not necessarily something to panic about just yet. Of course, plenty of time. And Salem just putting one on net there just to get the face off and kind of work their way out of that one. So Stewart from Wallace, from Ross Green. So Green, of course, with the big outlet pass, he's found Wallace and then popped it across and done it that way. Probably the nerves slightly deadened for Jamie and some of our NK friends there. Great spot there by Headley as well to see that shot through traffic too. We're just going to press some buttons. Just going to quickly check on a few bits and pieces as we're going. Not entirely sure why that's done that. That's fine. There we go. What we are going to do, he says, hoping that something's gone sideways here. Oh dear. What we need, dear me, I've had an absolute mare here. What I need to do, oh dear, my phone that I'm showing the stream on has had a bit of a collie wobble. We're going to have to bin that out and then go back in, I think. There we go. There we go. That's all it needed. Just needed a bit of a slight adjustment there on my end. Yeah. Do we class that one as a necessary penalty there? Because he's did he need to pull him down? He probably is. Bit of a tough one there. Some might even argue that's a bit of a harsh call, but I think that's probably one where he stepped in and kind of done the business there. Stubley, I assume that is 56. Yeah, Tom Stubley there with the penalty. Not what you need really if you're Hull at this point, but they do have the ability to kind of do some damage. What I will look at very, very quickly, if I can get it to work. Oh, great bit of work there by Lawrence, but well done by Jordan McLaughlin to hold firm on that. 7 short-handed goals in the league this campaign for Hull. And looking at Hull in terms of their penalty kill, 78.68% is not amazing numbers, all things considered. Their power play running at about 25% though is pretty good, all things considered. The question here is, how will MK kind of set themselves up? You can see Stewart on one point, Herman lurking on the other, which feels like a relatively smart and sensible way of kind of doing things. I'm just looking to see whether they've actually put out any defensemen on that power play, whether they're playing all forwards. Doesn't look like they have. But yeah, certainly I will need to... Oh, blimey, that was very, very dangerous. That would have been an absolute nightmare of a goal to give up. Certainly one of the things I'll need to do as well, I will have to kind of pop out a little bit during breaks. One of the things I do need to do is I need to plug in my phone is not charged as well as I thought it was, unfortunately, so I'll have to plug that in momentarily during the stream. But like I say, it's going to be a long show, so there'll be points where I kind of pop in and out. I'll put the starting soon screen on. Don't duck out, of course, so we kind of work on that. But like I say, just something different. I see a lot of these things on Twitch. I see a lot of these things on on other kind of streaming platforms. That's a big chance there for Hull, but just can't get it through. Great work by Headley to keep himself strong at the post, and his D-men to kind of usher them away there. Decent penalty kill there, though, for the Seahawks. Watching along, well-matched team so far. Yeah, can't disagree with you there. Can't disagree with you there, Nicky. I think like I say, I think that goal kind of, though, symptomatic of kind of the road game that MK are going to kind of play in this situation. They've weathered that initial kind of wave of pressure from the Seahawks, and then just got given that little bit of space that you didn't want to get. Disco all alone up front. You wouldn't want to, a terrible way to kind of do those things. But yeah, like I say, I see these kind of things a lot with kind of football, and I figured why not for such a big game. Not something I'd want to do every weekend, because of course I want to go to hockey. I don't want to, doing stuff like this isn't the best way to kind of enjoy the sport, because for me, hockey is such a better live experience. I think there are some sports where I think kind of watching it on TV where I think kind of watching it on TV can kind of help the experience. Obviously, it's not the same, but I think of a sport like F1 where actually there is so much that you can't see being there, but you kind of experience more, if you see what I mean. But a sport like hockey is made for live viewing, and the extras of kind of watching it like this are. Great work by Declan Balmer there. A guy who would get into this MK team when you think about the quality of defensemen. Emil Svek putting the body about as well. But this is not something I think I'll do a lot. But I think for kind of big games like this, like I say, it's Hull, it's a Wednesday night. And rather than kind of talking about stuff and kind of keeping tabs stuff during the stream, why not do something different? Why not get those of us who can't be in Hull, get us together, have a bit of a chat about things, shoot the breeze about hockey and the like, and kind of just keep tabs on the game as we go. Like I say, I see lots of it on other streaming platforms. Why not us? Why not us have a go? And I've kind of operated a lot on, when it comes to British hockey, on the old maxim, if not you, who? Like, if it's not me having a go at these things, and I think about them, why shouldn't I kind of have a go at them? There is something flying around as well. You get the eccentricities of my house into the bargain. Kind kind of seeing how bits and pieces are. Kieran in the chat there, really like the quality of the whole stream. Massive difference in quality to other team streams. I think that certainly the camera quality is much better than in some other places as well. I know, I know the commentary at times across all levels has kind of irked people. People will have their favourites and the people they don't necessarily like. I've been impressed with the officials. Yeah, I think they've called Stubley. I mean, they could have let it go, but I kind of get why they did call it. But again, one of those games where they're managing the situation well. Now, I haven't watched Mr. Williams as much, but certainly Mr. Sewell, I've watched a fair bit, and I've generally been impressed with how he manages games as well. I was, of course, speaking to a friend of yours at the weekend, Nikki, myself, and Mr. Cloutman had quite a good conversation about life, the universe, and everything. I think there was a moment on Saturday where I feel like I'd finally been accepted by British Hockey, where Dave Cloutman bought me a cup of tea. I think that was the marker of I might be stuck in now. But this has been the difference here with Hull. It's been a lot of energy and excitement and effort, but actually it's been MK just kind of waiting and then trying to be, stealing those moments. MK can be really, really clinical when they want to be, and I think this is kind of a big moment for them to do that. I mean, look at that line though of Herman, Rutkiss, and Lawrence. I mean, that would give defensemen nightmares. To think people talk about wanting like cup competitions between the leagues and like having a cup competition that involves teams from Division 2 and the Elite League. Can you imagine some Div 2 side? Can you imagine the Oxford Rising Stars having to face up against Dylan Lawrence? So like it'd be destructive is what it'd be. It would just murder people's confidence. On that front, good save by McLaughlin there. I'm liking the commentary tonight as well. Emil Svek can't go round, so he will go through. Why not? So 5:20 left in the first then. The clock on the graphic has given up. Unfortunately, every time they go down towards the end that Jordan Headley is currently defending, the clock is on the wall, so we can all see it. So what we'll do, we'll get to the end of the first period, then we'll just go through the National Division, have a look at bits and pieces there, have some chat about kind of results from elsewhere around the league at the weekend. We'll have a little brief pause as well, so we can get your drinks, get your snacks, get your bits and pieces, and kind of do some other bits, go to the toilet, and then we'll kind of come back. We won't do more than kind of sort of 5 minutes away, but obviously just give people the opportunity just to go away, do bits and pieces, and then kind of come back, as it were. So we'll definitely be kind of rolling all the way through the actual periods, as it were, knowing, of course, that we get no overtime tonight. We just get a 60 minutes worth of hockey, knowing that we will get the second leg next week. For those of you unfamiliar who've tuned in, National Division Cup final here. So it is two game series effectively. Cumulative aggregate score decides the winner, which means there will be no overtime this evening. Overtime can only happen next week in the second leg, which will be held at the MK Arena, the Thunderdome itself. Callum Field, who I thought had a really good year, a really good 22-23, and I think quite a few of us were kind of hoping he'd push on a little bit more for 23-24, but he's kind of been put into more of a third line, fourth line role, and hasn't quite had the opportunities that. Certainly, I think I was expecting to see more of him in kind of a middle six role this year than a bottom six role. But Tim Wallace kind of has got such a stacked top end that he's not kind of needed to kind of put too much pressure on Field. That's dangerous there. A lot of shots being hooked wide though by MK at the moment, which I find interesting. But there we go. McLaughlin managing to hold on and hold fire there. A lot of really is just great to see Hull so full for a game like this. Really is exciting to see. Really pleased for them as an organisation. Of course, having caused Matty Davis a few headaches in the past, it's fun to be able to kind of see the success and to think of the work that him and Joe and Sam, Matt's wife, have kind of put into bits and pieces for the organisation. To be able to see it all kind of come to fruition is really impressive, and I'm really, really pleased for everybody. So that's lots of fun. Andrew, of course, always reliable, always chucking us in the, always chucking the scores in for us. Appreciate that. Cardiff 0, Sheffield 0. Dundee, I can't see that unfortunately because of the thing that's in the way there. What's that with Guildford and Dundee? 0-0 there as well. Am I right that Steelers can win the league tonight if they get a regulation win? Yeah, we go. So yeah, actually a very fair point there on commentary. Jamie Chilcott getting called for cross-checking. But yeah, that's certainly a very, very fair... That's a penalty, surely. Interesting there's no call there, but I'm interested as to why that's not a penalty there. Yeah, are they actually playing a defenseman on the power play at all? It does look like MK are running 5 forwards on the power play there. Excuse me. Definitely one of the things I'll be doing in the break is getting some water because, of course, I put my son to bed and then just immediately launched into doing the stream, so didn't get the opportunity to kind of to check to kind of do bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm not as set up as I usually would be on that front. So it's that's all well and good. That's the joy of doing these things. But yeah, certainly I think fascinating to think that this could be a potential game at Coventry as well. And it's really weird in that kind of sense because ultimately I think a one-game shootout in some ways much more favours Hull. Just because of the way that Matty Davies likes to set teams up. Again, you think of the Cup semi-final against Leeds and just the ability to kind of plan for what they do. That's a lovely pass. And a great bit of work there by Jordan McLaughlin to deny him. But yeah, the defence there's parted like the Red Sea. Another great bit of work there on the penalty kill by Finlay Ulrich to kind of hold stuff. He's got to kind of now do something with him because there's people lurking around. Of course, Hull don't necessarily need to worry too much at the moment. Being only a goal down in the first period is not anything to be ashamed of. Another penalty killed off by the Seahawks there. They'll take some heart from that. Ben Brown is a D-man on the Lightning's second power play unit. Yeah, but certainly I think that top unit doesn't appear to be running a defenseman at all by the look of it. It looked like it was Herman, Lawrence, Wallace. Just trying to think who else was out there. Herman, it looked like McEwen was out there as well, but there doesn't appear to be a defenseman on the first power play unit. Ben Brown on the second makes sense. You can't just run all of your forwards out there. Dangerous there again. That's actually one of the things I think MK probably don't necessarily get as much credit for as they maybe should do. Is actually their vision on the puck is really, really good. Like kind of the ability of some of their top end guys to kind of see those plays is really good. Ross Green, the Sloth himself, of course, another guy celebrating a testimonial this year. I can't remember the date of Ross Green's testimonial, but certainly he's congratulations to him, of course, and being awarded one by the Lightning. So I know merchandise now available for his is available for his coming up, and jerseys and like have been made available too. The overlap is on there. Good stick in the lane though to kill that one off. Just got to kind of play it out now if you're Hull. Not the greatest of chances there. I think that's one that kind of fans will think was more necessarily than it was. Svek just kind of sort of getting the shot away and getting the face off. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is the worst of scorelines for Hull, all things considered. Obviously, we're just going to see out the end of the period here as the time ticks down. Herman, Lawrence, Rutgers, Disco Wallace. Yeah, exactly. So, there's no defenseman on that first line. That shot a little on the knuckle. A little on the knuckle there from Nathan Ripley, which will irk some. But either way, 0-0 after 20 minutes in Hull. Sorry, 0-0. 1-0 to MK, sorry. When I say 0-0, what am I talking about? I'm literally watching the game and still got the scoreline wrong. Yeah, a few bits of pushing and shoving, and I'm not hugely surprised given the shot late in the period. A lot of people poking and shouting. 4th of May, thank you very much, Jamie. I knew you'd chuck that out there. Either way, so yeah, 1-0. I feel like the Lightning are probably good value for that in terms of the fact that they've had the better chances. They've been a bit more dangerous with how they've been going forward. Hull have put in a lot of energy and a lot of effort and have looked up for the game. But I think the issue really for Hull is that it's lacked a little bit of direction. Saw some good work on the penalty kill from Finley Ulrich. He had a couple of chances. We've seen a couple of sort of close calls in front, but it's all kind of played into Jordan Headley's hands a little bit. I think they need to kind of get him moving a little bit more. It's all kind of sort of been a bit at him rather than kind of making him move too much. And then of course that lone goal from Liam Stewart, just a great bit of play there. Great out stretch pass from Ross Green to find Tim Wallace. Centre of the ice is just completely empty for Liam Stewart to kind of walk into, and then puts it by Jordan McLaughlin. But yeah, certainly Declan Balmer, a few crosswords still being uttered, and a few people not super happy about bits and pieces. Either way, what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly put on the pause screen. Going to quickly go grab a few bits and pieces. I'll be back in a couple of minutes' time. And we'll be able to, and like I said, we'll crack back on. So like I said, I'm just going to hit the screen, hit the mute button. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. There we go. Let's just quickly kick back. Thank you for bearing with me there. Just a bit of a comfort break, if nothing else. Either way then, let's have a chat about last weekend's bits and pieces in the National Division. Take the opportunity of the break to have a look at some bits and pieces that have been happening from the other leagues, of course, as we usually would. So usually the What's Current stream on a Wednesday night, we're not talking our way through the game, we're not watching bits and pieces as we go. As we can see from the screen at the moment, you've got a bit of a streamception, as it were. But yeah, so normally what we do on a Wednesday night, we talk about the big bits of news from across the NIHL. We talk about bits and pieces that have kind of gone on. We go through all of the games that have happened. We go through the fixtures as well for the upcoming week, and just kind of touch on a little bit of everything. And like I say, we're obviously going to do that as we chat during the games. Of course, the one of the big bits and pieces that came out of Banners on the Wall recently was, of course, we had the frustrations of the Zebra. This anonymous official who asked for his thoughts to be published, which kind of went out. And of course, we saw a little bit of the response, sort of, today from the head official at Ice Hockey UK, Colin Davidson, and about some of the good that's obviously happening from the officiating section. Interested to hear it. Like I say, I think it was a good time to kind of talk about it anyway, irrespective of kind of what happened with the officials. They obviously don't mention what was said in the piece. I don't necessarily blame them for that. I don't think what was said kind of addresses any of the points that the frustrated Zebra raised themselves, which I think is a little bit of a shame, but not necessarily unexpected in that sense. You know, you wouldn't expect them to kind of touch on it, but I think ultimately the proof is going to be in the pudding, particularly in terms of some of the things that they talk about going forward, like the mentoring program, and and sort of future bits and pieces for the officiating section. And like I said last week, like I want the officiating section to do well. I think everybody wants it to do well, but I think there's, like I say, some of the issues that were raised in the piece definitely were not answered in this video. This was about kind of bumping up what's there. And actually, you know what? Like, celebrate the good. Celebrate the things that are working. There's definitely no problem with that. But I think the fact that, you know, there was no talk about any of those problems at all, I find very, very interesting, because it actually would have made it a much better rounded piece. It should be said, I thought Colin came across really well. It's a bit of a shame they kind of only had like a 7-8 minutes, which I think was a bit of a shame, really, because I think kind of getting him in front of the camera to kind of really personalise and talk about what it means to be an official would have been a really, really good idea, particularly as well this season where the criticism of the officiating has been much higher and much more visible. So the fact that they didn't take that opportunity, I feel feels a little bit missed to me. But I get why they didn't do it, and I get why, because I mean people wouldn't have been happy either way. I like I said, I don't feel they've quite necessarily stepped in and talked about some of the stuff that they should have done, but people kind of say why they're getting involved in, you know, answering everything that kind of comes their way. I mean, certainly my response to that would be because one of your own officials has said it, and they've not felt that they're able to do that within the structure that exists currently. But that is what that is on that front. And certainly, like I say, when I was writing my piece and I went to them to say, you know, when I was writing my bits of the piece, and when the official had written their bit, and I went to them to say, this is coming. Like I say, my conversations with them are really constructive. Like they're good people trying to do well, but I think the system isn't helping them, and I think that's something that needs to kind of be figured out and worked around. Either way, lots to kind of talk about from last weekend in the from the National Division, of course, because of course the deed is done, but we will talk about that momentarily. Games, because there were games last Friday, of course, 3 games last Friday night as teams smash in the remainder of their schedule. Big win for the Bees in the playoff race, of course. 4-2 win over the Raiders. All things considered, I think most of us are pretty convinced that the Raiders will lock in now for the playoffs, and they will not miss out on the postseason. Bristol, of course, bottom. They are out of playoff contention, having a 12 spot put on them by the Hull Seahawks. A 6-12 home loss. To score 6 at home and lose is pretty bad. I mean, Bristol. The reset button is going to get hit in the summer. I think we're pretty certain of that. Of course, we had a couple of guys already signed on. Reece Cochran is signed on. Jacob White-Say is signed on for for next year. So that, there'll be a few familiar faces back, but they would, I think there's going to be a bit of a change of direction. And then the other game from Friday evening, a good win for the Swindon Wildcats as they look to, secure, lock up their playoff spot with a 7-4 win away at Sheffield, of course, who now also are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. The Steel Dogs will not play in the playoffs. Saturday then, well, it was a story of what could have been on Saturday evening for the Leeds Knights. They lose by 7-4 against the MK. Against MK. MK kind of saying, not in our barn, not here, not now, which was all well and good. That meant Leeds had to delay their gratification until Sunday. Elsewhere, good win for the Raiders. They beat the Bristol Pitbulls by 10-4. So even though they lost on the Friday night, they got their due, as it were. And then a really huge game because, of course, the only team outside of the playoffs with a mathematical chance of making it are the Solway Sharks. And that 5-2 win at home against the Bees in their beach, their beach party game that they had with those shirts that everybody seems to love apart from me. I didn't think they were very nice, but all said and done, big win for the Sharks there to keep themselves alive with a couple of weekends left of action, because the Sharks they need results to go their way, but they are not they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Swindon then, having beaten Sheffield away on Friday night, beat them at home on Saturday by a score of 7-3. Like I say, that the Swindon-Sheffield game I saw earlier this year, probably the dullest game of the season, unfortunately. I will kind of be doing sort of a banners on the road kind of awards for best games, best moments, worst moments, and that kind of thing, as it were. Sunday then, Hull and Swindon kind of sort of knocked heads against each other. A game that sort of, from people who were there, has kind of lacked a bit of intensity, lacked a bit of oomph, but Hull keeping that momentum going, a 6-4 win for them. And then it was all done and dusted. The Leeds Knights are the champions again of the National Ice Hockey League's National Division. The 6-3 win against the Bees on home ice at the Castle secures a back-to-back title for Ryan Aldrich's men. And let's be honest, they have been far and away the best team in the division yet again. And there's a bunch of reasons why, and we'll kind of get to the end of the season and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Debrief on that and kind of have a think about why that is. I've put some thoughts into Romford's programme this week for my piece for them, so plenty to chat about there. The Raiders themselves, very big win as well for them. Like I said, the players are pretty much a lock now for Sean Easton's side. 5-1 win over the Peterborough Phantoms at home. The Phantoms, of course, who are pretty much kind of locked in where they are. MK with a 6-2 win over Sheffield to just keep the wheels ticking over. A good 4-point weekend for them, having beaten Leeds the night before. And then Solway, well, they were in a good position again and end up losing an OT. A massive goal from Vladimir Luka. It means the Sharks lose. They get a point, but they need to be picking up points. But it has set everything in quite a good place in terms of excitement for the rest of the upcoming campaign. So we know that Leeds Knights are the champions. 50 games played, 87 points. They are officially uncatchable, even if MK won out for the rest of the campaign. MK, Swindon, Hull, Peterborough and Telford all locked in for the playoffs. The Raiders officially are not a mathematical certainty for the playoffs, but it would take quite a lot given the fact that they are 4 points ahead of Solway. The big question, of course, now really sits on 8th and 9th. The two teams, of course, on 50 points. The Bees in 8th place with 45 points. The Sharks in 9th place with 43. So Martin Grubb's side in their first season in this division are still within touching distance, but they need results to go their way. Sheffield and Bristol, as we said, are eliminated from the playoffs. Given the fact that Solway are on the outside looking in, we know at the moment roughly what the two groups will look like. Of course, only two teams are locked into their positions. Leeds and MK are secure in first and second place, meaning that they will be in Group A and Group B respectively. Swindon have not officially locked up third. Have not locked up third as of yet, but a point on Saturday against MK or across this weekend will do the business for them. Hull are only able to achieve a maximum of 69 points. The Cats are on 69, meaning that any result this weekend that gets them a point will lock Swindon into third, and they will join Milton Keynes in Group B. As it stands at the moment, Group A would see the teams in 1st, 4th, 5th and 8th, which would see a group, if it started today, of Leeds, Hull, Peterborough and the Bees. And Group B would be 2nd, 3rd, 6th and 7th. That would be the MK Lightning, as we know, along with, at the moment, if it started today, Swindon, Telford and the Raiders. A massive thanks, of course, to Joe Scutts from NHLstats.wordpress.com for all of the fun bits of information. Andy, of course, I'm sure is in the building. You all. Chip Spice for all. What we will do, of course, is just have a quick look at the games upcoming this weekend in the national division. A massive thanks, of course, to BOTW's resident graphic boffin Max van Mullen from the Guildford Under-18s for his work on the graphics, and of course, one of the last meeting, I believe, of the season in the Southwest. Will the Southwest be red? Oh, hang on, there's a bug flying around. Let's get rid of that. The last meeting of the season between Bristol and Swindon. Will the Southwest be red? Will the Southwest be blue to finish the campaign? They meet on Friday night in Bristol. Not seen a confirmed face-off time for that one. Saturday then, as I say, some big games in that spot for the last playoff race, but Hull will take on Peterborough. Raiders versus Bees, a massive, massive game, all things considered, particularly for Solway. They will be wanting a Romford win in that one. Sheffield take on Leeds, of course, who are confirmed as champions. Big game, having lost in overtime in Telford last weekend. The Sharks take on the Tigers, knowing that a Romford win and a win for themselves at home would do massive, massive wonders for their chances at the playoffs. And then, of course, there's the game I'll be at this coming Saturday at the Link Centre between the Swindon Wildcats and the MK Lightning. Into Sunday then, and a huge, huge one. The Sharks won in Dumfries last weekend, and this coming Sunday at the Hive, Bees, Sharks. And the winner, it could literally be a case of win and you're in, depending on results, depending on how the results go on Saturday night. Leeds and Sheffield will renew acquaintances on Sunday. MK take on Bristol. Peterborough take on Romford. And as usual, on Sunday evening, so that'll be the Telford Tigers at home at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. They take on the Hull Seahawks. And of course, we have next Wednesday's game, which will be the second leg of this encounter that we're watching this evening on our sidecast between the Hull Seahawks and the MK Lightning. Let's see a few bits and pieces there. MK versus Leeds on Saturday night was, in my view, the game of the season. Brilliant game of hockey, and MK put together one of their best 60-minute performances of the season. Unfortunately, for you, Jamie, the big issue there is that they've slipped up on the road where Leeds haven't, and I think that's cost MK the title. We start with a 2-minute power play, 2 minutes to Rutkiss. I'm interested to see what, hopefully when the commentators come back on, we will get some sort of word as to what's happened there. Big game in Romford. Bees currently have a head-to-head of 3-2. Raiders win with tie, and Raiders have the goal difference advantage. Huge game there though, Colin. It still feels to me that Romford are kind of, it's obviously not mathematically certain for them, but it does feel like I feel like the Raiders are not going to miss out on this just because of the games. Just load up some bits and pieces. What we'll do is we'll chat about Division 1 and Division 2 kind of as we edge through bits and pieces. Of course, like I say, I'll have a look at some other bits and pieces as we go. But the teams are filing their way back out for the second period of action. Of course, MK leading by 1-0. Liam Stewart with the lone tally of the game so far. So 2-minute misconduct penalty for Rutkiss there. So a power play to start the period for the Seahawks. A win Saturday should seal it with the Bees home to Solway Sunday. Yep, so like I say, it's pretty certain that Romford were going to be absolutely fine. But for Solway, the door is open. The door is massively open for the Sharks here. But what they've got to be able to do is they've got to be able to convert. The Bees seem to have kind of woken up a little bit in the last couple of last few weeks. That game on Sunday could be massive. Could be really, really massive. All things considered, really, really interested to kind of see how it goes. My opportunity, though, like I say, just with other bits and pieces going on, I've got a big week at work because I'm officially on the countdown. I finish at my current job on Wednesday, so So that's me going down. That's my thing. So not going out on Sundays, kind of just me making sure I'm sort of rested. Whereas Saturday game, like I say, my opportunity to kind of have a check and have a look at everything, as it were, and just spend some time with my wife and my son, just ahead of what is a big few days for me to just kind of see out a chapter of my life. So looking forward to that. Good chance here for Hull, but they've got to do something with that. Good D. Good bit of defensive work there by the Lightning to get rid of that. Archie Salisbury got the penalty, not Tom's Rutkiss. This is probably one of the next things, actually, that the National Division talk about. I know, obviously, this week on Macca's Talk Hockey, that Jack and Charlie and Dan talked about video referee, video bits and pieces for the referees. For me, actually, I'd and particularly as well, if the National Division becomes a separate entity and steps away from the NIHL banner, I really think they need to go down the Elite League element of looking at live stats and the better ability to have that sort of live stats package similar to what the Elite League has. I don't necessarily know whether the National Division needs sort of like ice time heat maps and everything like that. But I do think the ability to kind of improve the data that goes into stuff like Instat, I think, would be really, really beneficial. Aaron Nell would absolutely love it to death, but certainly the ability to kind of do better statistical analysis, I think, for teams in the league, I think would be really, really good. Some good ideas there by Hull. But solid work there from the Lightning. I think Hull, again, just kind of being a bit guilty there of sort of going hammer and tongs, but not quite, not having the direction. That's great work. He's crashed into Headley. There you go. So, I mean, great work there by Nathan Salem. Exactly the sort of thing you'd expect Nathan Salem to do. He's driven the net, which is the sort of thing that you want Nathan Salem to be doing for you, really, and it just didn't come off on that sense. One of the things, like I say, though, getting pucks in tight to Jordan Headley, given how strong he is in terms of maintaining his butterfly, is not. It just doesn't feel like the best way to do it. I think it's either about pinpoint shots up high, or like I say, just getting him moving. It's the best way to beat any netminder, is to just try and have them go two directions at once, because they will ultimately not go in the right direction at all. Like I say, it's lots of effort and lots of industriousness from Hull, but it's just lacking that little bit of execution. As the puck's hopped up into the MK bench, I'll move my plate. I had my cake on it. Lemon squares, though. This is the advantage of being married to a woman who likes to bake, is that I do get good treats, all things considered. I can only imagine. I mean, it's days like this as well where I kind of remember Bison in cup finals and things like that, and just how edgy, how nervy everything gets. Of course, we are just about 10 years removed from the Bison winning the EPL Cup in 2014 against MK. Of course, that crazy season where Milton Keynes were playing out of the Coventry Sky Dome due to for the refurb in MK. Bison winning in Coventry at the Sky Dome, and then nearly, beat MK with a great fight back in Basingstoke, but Basingstoke winning again on the night to take the cup. The sort of not the technical cup winning goal, but the sort of the big goal late on in the third period from Andy Mellor, Keeno tipping home a power play shot to eventually kind of seal the deal and end what had been a very I think it was 13 years without a trophy in Basingstoke when they took the EPL Cup in 2014, until they then of course they won the playoffs in 2014 as well against the Manchester Phoenix at the Sky Dome. Crazy to think that 10 years on, neither of those two teams are playing this year. Of course, a few guys still kind of playing, in earnest. Aaron Connolly, of course, still knocking around at this level with the Raiders. But just sad to think that was probably one of the best games of hockey I've ever seen live with my own two eyes. Was that 2014 EPL playoff final, and neither of those teams are in existence anymore. So a bit of a shame, but yeah, nostalgia, memory does funny things. Does funny things to us all. So long ago that Nicky, God bless him, is still playing. Yeah, what this is going to need here is just some good old fashioned gritting it out. I think here from Hull. Although a goal down, of course, they're still within a puncher's chance. But I think, like I say, it's that bit of attacking impetus and quality from MK that is seeing them kind of edge themselves away from this one. Especially, you don't want to give the puck away to Rory Herman that close to the net, knowing what he's liable to do. But that is not going to do the business there. Some good solid defence from Hull. I think the issue though for Hull is they are getting caught a bit flat-footed on occasions. Those stretch outlet passes doing some real damage there for MK because the forwards are just able to react a little bit quicker than the D at the moment. Certainly very interesting as well to see. I know obviously one of the sort of big talk about points and everything like that. Obviously we've had Kieran Brown get another 100-point season, the first player in the sort of the modern era of the EPL and the NIHL to score back-to-back 100-point seasons. Saw a very interesting article today on Russian Machine Never Breaks, of course, about how Austin Matthews is chasing 70 goals in the National Hockey League, and probably one of his biggest cheerleaders about wanting to see him do it is Alexander Ovechkin, of course. Ovechkin slowly edging down Wayne Gretzky's marker for goals in the NHL to be the biggest goal scorer of all time in the NHL. Ovechkin, of course, has a 65 goal season in the NHL, but nobody has achieved 70 in the modern era, and certainly Ovechkin very much behind Matthews' push for that. Be really interesting to see. I think ultimately, though, of course, everybody will talk about it in Toronto, but Toronto. Yeah, no one in Toronto is ever going to be satisfied until the big shiny thing that lives in the building down the road from the arena is allowed to kind of move home slightly into the arena. It's got to be the biggest frustration playing in Toronto, knowing the Stanley Cup lives literally down the road and you can't have it. But that is life on that one. Just as we're talking about that one though, if we look at we talked about those playoff games and just how close we are to kind of the end of the season. 4 games away in the National Division, 1 weekend left in Division 1 and Division 2. The big things are slowly creeping towards us. Of course, Coventry just about a month away. It's going to be big. It's going to be exciting. I, of course, locked in for a few bits and pieces, which I will talk about in due course. But yeah, like I said, this has been a really solid game of hockey. Good stuff, good back and forth. Like I say, I think MK are edging it at the moment. I think there's a lot of good stuff from Hull, but I just think that MK are just looking a little bit more potent. Although leaving Chamberlain alone by himself in that sort of position is not good. But yeah, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings. Do chuck bits and pieces in the chat, of course, as well as we go along. As John Cena's theme tune plays, of all things, across the Hull Arena. Just having a check of any other news elsewhere. Yeah, that first goal for MK coming at 7:54. So plenty of time. There we are! There's the equaliser for the Hull Seahawks. And that's how it was going to have to kind of be. Nothing particularly fancy. I said the Hull Seahawks were going to have to grit it out. And grit it out they do. A lovely little bit of work there from Bobby Chamberlain. Just getting the netminder moving in tight. Loops up in the air and eventually finds its way in. And of course, who else was going to score against the MK Lightning apart from Bobby Chamberlain? Had to be done. The Hull boy himself. Big goal there. Huge goal. In the context of what's kind of the tie. And actually, you know what? Like credit to Hull as well. I'm happy for them that everything that could have possibly happened in this tie, they've got one, and they got one at home. So huge on that front for them. The question now is, what's the response from both of these sides? Because Hull, they're kind of persevered with their game plan and eventually kind of been rewarded. What do you do if you're MK? Do you need to prepare? Do you push again now, or do you know that with their tails up they're going to try pushing in and then try and catch Hull pushing too hard? I think is probably there's some questions to be said here, although nothing quite immediately occurred out of that one. Svek needing to stand strong there. Tom Barry, of course, the man with the best goal scoring percentage in Basingstoke history, a man with a 200% goal scoring efficiency as a Bison is Tom Barry for that one game he played. Very surreal set of events that was for Tom Barry, having left Sheffield where he signed for Widnes, then guested for the Bison, then went to Leeds and won the title, and then went to Hull. Very, very bizarre sort of chain of events there. That just trying to sort out his sort of life and limb and everything. But such is life on such things. Obviously landed, got himself a league winners medal with the Knights, and is obviously doing great things now in Hull as part of the new order there. Plenty of good. Here's what we could do for feature bits of this kind of like going forward, because one of the things that occurs to me is like having background music, but I don't necessarily. I think my issue with having things like background music is finding background music that I either wouldn't be. It's music I would like would probably be too heavy to kind of work as background music, and then I'd want something that wouldn't drive me spare. And all the background music I find at the moment just makes me a little bit angry. It just makes me cross because I don't like it that much. There we are, a bit of physicality kind of upping itself here now. Crazy to think, isn't it? Tim Wallace played in the NHL, and now he's here. I think there's, there's a lot to be said here for the pressure being on Milton Keynes, just because of the depth and the quality of the roster, and the fact that jokes about money aside, that's all gone a bit wrong. Archie Salisbury, they're diving across at the last minute to spare the blushes of Jordan Headley. I mean, that's the thing, of course, with Jordan Headley. He's such a good netminder, but all netminders have their bad moments. That's a very, very good bit of play by MK. So, and what will Hull be able to kind of craft out of that? There was a bit of a floater on that from Bartholomew, but I don't think anybody kind of really followed the play. But yeah, for MK, of course, such a roster with such an amount of depth, and if they come out of the season with nothing, I think a lot of questions. We've said it before, we said it again about Jamie McElroy said a lot about it, about mentality and about how MK are in the crunch. But if they win nothing at all, there are going to be some very, very serious questions asked. Least of all by kind of MK fans, I think. I'm very, very interested to see. In some ways, like I said, a cup I feel is a better chance for MK than the playoffs, just because the playoffs. I personally think that MK will make Coventry. I don't think there's much doubt about that one, but I think the problem for MK is the one-game shootout format. I think is where I fear for MK, just because I think they are so susceptible to being game planned, and if you make them chase, they just seem to struggle at times. If you get inside their heads a bit. Oh dearie me, another one where Headley's kind of Headley wasn't very sort of well set in his net, but crazy stuff all in all. It's been a pretty good game. It's been worthy of a cup final. A bit of drama, a bit of everything, a bit of excitement, a bit of skill. That's what we like. That's why we like the sport so much. I love how excited the commentators are getting about this as well, which of course, being Hull fans. But the close on that hit as to what that could have been, but looked decent enough to me. I think the interesting thing, of course, being Hull fans, being Hull hockey fans, if you only got into hockey with the Seahawks, you'll of course have missed a chunk of stuff with the Pirates. Of course, the 2019 playoff win for the Hull Pirates. That was that crazy Hull team in NHL 1 North, where they kind of had to score one more than you hockey, where the defence just kind of wasn't there, and some of the ridiculous high-end defensive talent that Hull side had that year. Of course, Bobby Chamberlain with the playoff winning goal in 2019 for the Pirates, and now obviously back with the Seahawks. That's very well done. That's a good goal. Just perseverance on the puck there, and MK got a second. And what I find interesting here as well, yeah, not very good, not great there. Bonner just sort of caught the wrong side of Tom's ruck kiss. Just, like I say, almost too simple. I think I'd be, if I'm McLaughlin, I'm almost wanting that one back, because it's just been a bit, I mean, maybe he was sort of caught out by the speed of that one, but certainly not a good goal for Hull to let up there. And having done all that work and having persevered and got themselves back into the tie, they find themselves 2-1 down again, and it's two very, very similar goals of MK just waiting for the moment, and then just striking, and actually showing a level of just being of being really, really clinical again. We're just going to check a few bits and pieces as we go. But yeah, if you're watching along, do let us actually, that's one thing to kind of stick in the chat. Where are you watching tonight, of course? BOTW Towers down here on the south coast in Southampton. Really interested to hear where people are watching from. Don't put in the front room, because I guessed that bit. But yeah, what town are you watching from? What team do you usually watch? I can see there's a few more people in than usually are. So like I say, just chuck in the chat where you're watching from. What you're thinking of the game? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about everything? Really interested to see kind of where people are joining us from tonight. My worry here now is Hull need to make sure that there isn't a third quickly. I think that's probably the thing they kind of almost like not to worry so much about immediately pushing for the second, but just make sure that they don't concede now. Get a couple of shifts, under their belt, and then kind of push on from there, because they've shown that they can get the goal. You know, they've got one past Headley. He's had a couple of funny moments here, and now it's just a case of whether Hull can find that second, because they've definitely got the goal scoring ability. I mean, they scored 12 on Saturday, so it's not like they are. It's not like they are incapable of scoring. But it's now about scoring against those quality teams. And like I said, they've had MK's number a lot this year. I'm pretty certain Hull hold the tiebreaker over MK in league play. But it's a case of cometh the hour, cometh the man. And where the man was out of position there, Tom's Rutkiss, of course, who took that penalty at the end of the first period. What can Hull kind of craft out of that? Some good work there by Bruton to kind of cause a problem. This looks dangerous again for MK, just men in tight. McLaughlin holding firm against bit of a fun conversation there, looking like between Liam Stewart and Declan Balmer. Plenty going on. Big thanks there, of course, to Nikki for tweeting that out. We will just make sure that that's mentioned as well. Just checking anywhere else. Can see Nicole Jackson joining the D-side Dragons this evening for practice ahead of getting prepared for Worlds and the like. Overplayed that one a bit by the look of it, unfortunately. There, good chance there for a good opportunity there for Hull. They probably just need to be a little bit more. It made him think about it, which I think has worked, because they've seen where Headley's made some interesting choices this evening. So kind of making him second guess what was going to happen. They're not a terrible idea, but probably one though. Actually, he probably should have just shot. Not actually watching, so relying on you to bring it to life. Listening in Essex. I should have bought it. One of the things I definitely said was, to kind of make sure that, because Because the one thing I didn't want to do was people to not buy whole stream and just kind of listen to me. But I like the idea of us all kind of being able to kind of get together, have a bit of a chat. Maybe what we can do for the maybe that's what we do actually for the second leg. Maybe I get a couple of people. We get a couple of people on and we kind of do it that way as a bit of a conversation piece. Obviously, it would be dependent on who's available, and also would my internet cut out with more than one person on it. But we can kind of see how that goes. We'll have a think. We'll have a think and see what we think and feel on that one. But yeah, it's about 5:50 to go from the stream as I see it. Can Hull get themselves back on level terms before the end of the second period? And then second period, like I say, we'll just have a quick break. Have a couple of minutes. Just we'll pause. Pause the stream and do bits and pieces. Get water, get your snacks, get your drinks, get what you need, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about Division 1 and Division 2. Forgot it was on. well, Romford weren't in it, so of course you weren't fussed about it, Colin. So we'll let you off on that one. That's bad from the Seahawks there. That's giving MK the puck in a situation they don't need to be doing that. I wonder actually in a situation like this, and somebody might be able to tell me about this one, of if a coach was banned, would they be allowed to commentate on the stream if they're not allowed on the bench? I wonder. Oh, we have a brief visitor. It's the wife. Darling, we're in the house. They know you're here. You live here. I've made her laugh now. Am I allowed to pass you this plate, please? Can I pass you that? All right, apparently not. I think the wife's popped in to make herself a drink by the look of it as well. It should be said, and I'll say this live because she now can't stop me because she doesn't know how to turn any of this off. Haven't been married for nearly 13 and a half years. 13 and a half years now we've been married. My wife Emily is probably one of the most tolerant people known to mankind to let me get away with some of the stuff that I do in terms of disappearing off at weekends and all the hockey bits and pieces. So I am massively in her debt for everything she does for me, and for the boy as well. She's it is without any sense of hyperbole. She's the rock of our family, and but also, like I say, vastly understanding for the fact that when I said to her, I'm driving to Dumfries, but I did get away with it by bringing back presents, so that generally works quite well. Just like I went to Berlin and bought back presents as well. You can't give me that look, so I did bring you back presents. I'm getting a look. But she's probably going to say to herself, what have you got, those foxes? Like the boiled sweet kind of things you've got yourself. Ah, I see. Which got a bit of a dicky throat. I venture that is a cup of some red bush tea that's going to be made. Although she seems to have forgotten about her decaf Earl Grey.
No, it's red bush is nice for the feeling.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes. Tradition in this house when you have a cold is either hot honey and lemon or you have a red bush. Tim Wallace to the box there, which you know is going to be greeted with a variety of profanity and frustration. Face like thunder, which pun intended on that front. But yes, if like me you disappear off at weekends to go do lots of hockey stuff, and your other half doesn't complain about it, make sure you thank them at some stage during the end of the season, or spend the summer taking them to all the places they want to go instead. Big power play here though for the Seahawks with where are we? About 4 minutes left in the second period. A really, really big opportunity here for Hull to get back on level terms. Oh, lost an edge there, which is not ideal. Shoot! No. Definitely worth seeing whether Jordan McLaughlin would shoot. That's one of the things, of course, the great thing was you don't yell shoot on the power play, whereas I used to yell shoot on the power play, but only when the netminder plays the puck. Because I'm that level's worth of troll when it comes to it. See, it's too easy at the moment though. They're not getting the traffic in front of Headley and blocking his view. It's kind of low percentage shots there. You see, there's no penalty that you can really call on that play because that's two guys who've just kind of sort of tied each other up. Oh, that's a goal! That's the sort of thing you sign Emerald Spec for. I thank my wife by taking the children with me. Oh, lovely stuff. Lovely stuff, Colin. Well done. Massive, massive goal. It's just opened itself up a little bit there for Svek, and he's just had that bit of space, and you don't want to give him the ability to see that angle. I said it was a big power play for Hull. I said they needed a goal. They've got the goal. And that's why you sign Emil Svek. That's what you want the big man for. Big goal in a big moment there. 2-2 with time ticking down in the second period. Where are we? 3:10 left to go. Huge, huge goal there. And ultimately, a massive, massive moment there for Hull to keep them within a puncher's chance. Because that's what you've got to do. You know MK are going to score at home. Let's not go under any illusions here. There is no way MK don't get a goal back next week in the Thunderdome. So keeping yourself within touching distance is huge here. It's all opening up a little bit there for the Lightning. They're going a little bit backwards. Hello there, Jack. Let's go, Svek. Well, Svek has gone and done it, is the short answer there. That's a poor clearance, though, from the Lightning. What can... Chilcott will be first to this one, which is a terrifying thought if the fastest man to the puck is Jamie Chilcott. Massive amount of respect for Jamie, but he's not known for his speed. What can Hull craft here? Because MK, if you look, MK are really good at kind of blocking the middle lane very, very quickly. Nice idea by Bonner there, but stood up at the line to the point you can't really sort of do anything with it. But yes, 2-2 in the first leg of the National Ice Hockey League National Division Cup final. Big, big stuff so far. Really, really good game of hockey. But Hull need to be a bit more defensively solid here. They're just giving up. You know, MK are really, really good at taking advantage of those little mistakes, those little gaps of space that they leave. MK have punished them twice as a result of it. Fortunately, given that massive giveaway that's happened there, that's with MK still offside. They've had to go backwards to go forwards. That's an edge that's been blown. We need to see the replay on that one for me, if we can actually get that off of that. Because I wasn't, at full speed, I wasn't convinced. Rory Herman isn't happy, probably for the lack of league winners medal is probably what I'd say on that front. But say, Livy. Ulrich not convinced on that one. I'm not convinced that was a penalty at full speed. I really want to see the replay of that, because I venture it will probably give a much better idea slowed down. At full speed, I didn't think that was a trip, but I am watching on a small screen live with you here on a Wednesday night on the BOTW What's Current stream, our National Cup Final Sidecast editions. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, a big, big moment here for Hull. With time running down in the second, if they can hold themselves out to the end of the period, they will fancy their chances on that. It'd be great if the guys could get us the replay. With 60 seconds to go. Hang on a second. Breakaway there for Hull. Oh, it's done it! A massive, massive goal. And Hull lead in the final. Owen Sobchuk. Well, Owen Sobchuk, when Owen Sobchuk signed in Bristol, I did say to Richie Hargreaves, because the first time I watched Owen Sobchuk was in the Pacific Hockey League, so sort of the Rebel League in Australia. And Sobchuk had been an absolute dynamo through the regular season, and had then had a mare in the playoffs where he'd just been marked out of the game, and he had a tendency sometimes of struggling in those big games. He's come to Hull and has been like an absolute man possessed, and cometh the hour, cometh the man. That stretch pass, and Sobchuk has absolutely done the business to Headley there. Hull lead, short-handed, huge, huge goal. What a time to get it as well. That is, how big is that goal going to be in the context of this tie? Knowing, of course, what we know, that MK have found the ability in this game to spring the trap and get goals quickly. So MK can very, very easily tie things up, still on this power play, of course. And a fascinating game so far, and an exciting game, takes another twist. A goal down after 20 minutes, the Hull Seahawks lead the MK Lightning by 3-2 at the end of the second period. Fantastic, fantastic work there. And a great period from the Seahawks. 3 goals in the second. Bobby Chamberlain tying the score up before a goal from Tom's Rutkis put MK in front. Then the equaliser from Emil Svek, and that short-handed goal late in the period, in the second period, from Owen Sobchuk to put Hull 2 goals. 2 goals. What are we talking about? 3 goals in the period. 3-2. I can talk and I can do maths. I swear I can. Either way, a huge one there. About 15 minutes until the start of the second period. What we're going to do now here on the live stream is we are just going to take a very, very short break. Just a couple of minutes. Get yourself a comfort break. Get yourself a drink. Get yourself a snack. I make it about 3 minutes past 9. We'll be back probably around in about sort of 4 to 5 minutes time. Go enjoy yourself. Go have a go grab a few bits and pieces. We'll come back in a couple of minutes. Like I say, maybe closer to 3 or 4, and then we'll come back and we will go through all the action from Division 1 and Division 2 in the NIHL. Seahawks 3, Lightning 2. We will catch you back here in a couple of minutes' time. There we go. Back. There we go. There we are. Back from our little excursion there. Just had a few moments. Just had a quick check in with the wife as well. Make sure that she was all right. Anyway, period break. Of course, we'll get back to the game as we talk about it as we go. But we've got some other bits and pieces to go through from across the National Ice Hockey League over the last couple of weekends, and we go to another division where the league title was decided this past weekend. We head to North 1, and it was very, very simple mathematics for the Billingham Stars. All they needed was a win, and they were over the line, and they got it in style in Hull at the world's most versatile arena. The Hull Jets this season, in their first outing into 1 North, had been a tale of two halves, really. Invincible at home, terrible on the road, but the Stars go into Hull and win by 3-0 in a tight, tense and testy affair. But it's the Stars who do the business. They become the champions of Division 1 North. They take the mantle from the Solway Sharks, of course, who had dominated for so long. Many thought Whitley would follow behind them, but it is instead to Billingham where the title goes. Izmir is the stream having a funny 5 minutes. It is not just you, Jamie. Mine is struggling a bit as well, it should be said. Elsewhere in 1 North, the chasing pack behind Billingham, of course, wanted to keep the pressure on and, of course, keep momentum going into the playoffs. The Blackburn Hawks, the cup champions of 1 North, who absolutely battered Billingham to win that cup. They win by 9-3 in Sheffield against the Scimitars. That did the action for Saturday. On Sunday, well, the Stars played pretty much, from what I understand, with a hangover, and were beaten by 3-2 by the Solihull Barons. Didn't matter at that point. Those games are the ones that you want to lose when you've played having already won. Blackburn, though, keep themselves going. A 7-1 win over the Nottingham Lions in what has generally been quite a testy few games over the last couple of years. The Hawks and the Lions do not like each other much. Hull were away and lost. Massive surprise there. I know you'll find that one. Whitley winning by 6-1 against the Jets, and a squeaked out win, a narrow win there for the D-side Dragons. They win by 5-4 away in Widnes against the Wild. In terms of this weekend, then, the last weekend of regular season action for Division 1 in the North. One game on Saturday, which sees the Nottingham Lions take on the Whitley Warriors. That will be on the big pad at the NIC for the final home game of the season for the Lions. Sunday the 24th, then. Regular season action finishes in the North East with the big derby. Billingham take on Whitley at 5:30 p.m. at the Forum. A 5:15 face-off for the D-side Dragons. They take on the Widnes Wild. 5:10 at I Sheffield for the Sheffield Scimitars. They take on the Hull Jets. And 5:30 on Hobbsmoat Road in what could be a pretty tasty playoff semi-final at Sheffield between the Solihull Barons and the Blackburn Hawks. That one could be a very, very interesting tie, especially with neither side wanting to give away too much. Either way, then, just having a quick look at the North 1 table, it is there and it's confirmed. The Billingham Stars are the champions of the Morley Conference NIHL Division 1 North. Blackburn and Solihull, with a game left for the two of them, they are both locked on 44 points. So second place not locked in as of yet. D-side are in 4th, Hull 5th, Whitley 6th, Widnes 7th. And, well, the last playoff spot is still there to be played for heading into the final weekend of the season. The Lions need a result on Saturday against Whitley, or they need results to go their way on the Sunday, or the Lions will miss the playoffs on the Sunday without playing. As it stands at the moment, though, the Lions are still in the playoffs. There's only a couple of teams locked into their spots. Billingham in 1st, D-side in 4th, and Widnes in 7th are the only teams guaranteed their playoff position so far. If the North 1 playoff started today, Billingham would play Nottingham over 2 legs, Blackburn would play Widnes, Solihull versus Whitley, and D-side versus Hull, which would be a cracking tie. The winners of those aggregate ties, those two-legged aggregate ties, would head on to the Northern playoffs, North 1 playoffs at the Grand Playoff weekend in Sheffield for the Northern Divisions. In South 1 then, well, the league title has been locked up for quite some time in the South, as we know. Streatham are on the march. 3 trophies in 3 weeks for Ben Painter's side, where they won the Southern League Cup, they won the league title, and they won the extra Britain Challenge Cup as well into the bargain. Knowing that there are still a few bits and pieces, knowing there was still at least two pieces of hardware that they really, really want to win. Having lost the last two finals in Coventry for the National Division 1 title against Solway, Streatham now know their fates. They will face the Billingham Stars on the Sunday of the National Playoff weekend at the Coventry Skydome. Either way, last weekend then, just before we get too far into bits and pieces here, only one game last Saturday, a few games still left in the Britain Cup, despite the fact that Streatham have already won it. But the Slough Jets with a 3-1 win over the Oxford City Stars. The other Britain Cup game was then on Sunday. That was between the Red Hawks and the Chieftains. The Chieftains beating Streatham recently on the high road in penalty shots. Streatham will win this game, get a bit of bragging rights back. They beat the Chieftains by 4-3 in regulation at the Riverside. Invicta defeat MK by 9-3. MK locked in for the wooden spoon because Oxford win. They beat the Romford Buccaneers by 4-3 at the Ox Pens. That locks the City Stars into 7th place. This upcoming weekend then, quite a full programme of games ahead of the playoffs in the last weekend of the regular season. Saturday then, it will be 5 p.m. in Gosport for the Devils, for the Solent Devils and the Romford Buccaneers. 5:30 in Chelmsford for the last of the Britain Cup action for the Chieftains and the Oxford City Stars, and the last Britain Cup game as well on Jet side. They take on the Invicta Dynamos. Sunday then, on the 24th, a nice full load of games. 2 Britain Cup games, Invicta versus Chelmsford and Oxford versus Slough. Romford take on Milton Keynes in league action, and the final league game of the campaign faces off at 6:45 p.m. on the high road, the Streatham Redhawks and the Solent Devils. We do know that there are a couple of games that are still technically not been played. The game between the MK Thunder and the Streatham Redhawks has been awarded due to ice availability. There's still the outstanding question of a game between MK and Oxford that hasn't been played. We await to see what happens with that. But either way, as we look at the Southbourne table, bits and pieces are locked in. Knowing as we know that all teams are in their various positions, which means that the playoff picture looks like this. The champions, the Streatham Redhawks, they go to battle once again in the playoffs. As it's an 8-team league, everybody qualifies. The Streatham Redhawks take on the MK Thunder. The dates as to who plays at home when, still not to be confirmed by either side as of yet. But we do know the dates of the other games. Chelmsford will take on the Oxford City Stars. Chelmsford have elected to play the first leg at home. That will be at the Riverside on the 30th of March. They will play at the Ox Pens on the 31st. Slough will take on the Romford Buccaneers. Just double checking the dates on those ones because I have confirmed it. I'm pretty certain. Slough taking on the Romford Buccaneers. The first leg will be in Romford, 5:15 on Saturday the 30th of March, and then they return to the hangar on Sunday the 31st, 6:30 p.m. between Slough and Romford, and then it is Solent and Invicta. That's got the potential to be the playoff tie of across the country that weekend. The first leg will be in Gillingham, 5:45 on Saturday the 30th, and the return leg on Sunday the 31st of March. In Gosport, a 5 p.m. face-off for the Devils and the Dynamos. Stream still suffering a little bit there. Big thanks to Andrew Day for chucking the Elite League scores into the chat. Cardiff 2, Sheffield 0. Trevor Cox and Brandon Alderson with the goals there for the Devils. Dundee 2, Guildford 2 early in the third period. Ryan Valentini and Spencer Nass with the goals for the Stars. Peter Cronella and Jordan Klimek, an unusual goal scorer there for that second one, but the Stars and the Flames on level terms as it stands. Just waiting for the website to sort itself out. There we go. Streatham versus Thunder, 30th at Streatham, 31st at MK. So Streatham looking to get that one out of the way nice and early by the look of it. Either way, North 2 we'll have a look at very quickly because, of course, a few things still to be decided there. We do know the League and Cup champions are the Telford Tigers 2. They have had Sutton chasing on their heels all the way, but the title, all the trophies so far have gone to Telford. Will the playoffs go the same way? Saturday then, a win for the Altrincham Aces. They beat the Nottingham Lions the Nottingham Lions NIHL 2 side. The Lions, of course, out of the playoffs and will not play in the postseason as a result. The team that beat them into 8th spot, the Kingston Sharks, they had a pretty lively affair, losing 6-4 at home to the Billingham Buccaneers. The two new sides have both made the playoffs at the first time of asking. The Sheffield Titans running the Coventry NIHL Blaze close, but it is the Sky Dome side that come out with the extra point. The Blaze winning by 5-4 in overtime. And goals galore on Sunday in Bradford. Bradford score 5, but they lose 8-5 to the Telford Tigers. Excitement for everybody in that one. And then the battle of the bottom two. The Lions looking for a little bit of extra pride heading to as their campaign goes to finish, but they lose in the shootout by 5-4 at home against the Kingston Sharks. Sutton wanting to keep some momentum going heading into the playoffs. They defeat the Altrincham Aces by 4-1. That means the last weekend then of action in North 2. One game abandoned after 40 minutes and the result stands from across the season. That was that game between Altrincham and Billingham due to ice issues earlier in the campaign. But this Saturday then, a couple of games in North 2. Sutton will take on Bradford. That's at 5:40 at Ice Sheffield. Coventry welcome Altrincham to the Sky Dome. That's a 7 p.m. face-off this coming Saturday in Coventry. And then on Sunday, Altrincham take on Sheffield. Kingston take on the champions, the Telford Tigers. And the Nottingham Lions will finish out their season against the Sutton Sting. No confirmed playoff ties as of yet that I have seen, but we will just very quickly check the bits and pieces from the table there, because there are a few sides locked into their positions. We do know that it will be Telford versus Kingston in the playoffs in North 2, though we do not have the decided legs on that one. Sutton are locked into 2nd, Coventry are locked into 3rd, but we do not know who will finish 6th or 7th yet between Bradford and Altrincham. If the playoffs started today, Sutton will play Bradford, Coventry will play Altrincham. We do know that 4th versus 5th is locked in. Billingham, the Billingham Buccaneers in the playoffs for the first time. They will take on the Sheffield Titans. That, again, potential to be an absolute barn burner of a game. And then there's South 2, the last division, of course, of the structure. Where I spent last weekend, of course. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun at the game. Like I say, it's just a bit of a strange one all in all, because I was not expecting the game I thought I was going to get between the Solent Junior Devils and the Peterborough Phantoms 2. What I was expecting was something a bit closer and a bit more fiddly and a bit more needly, just because both sides have already qualified for the playoffs. Peterborough were travelling short, and actually what I got is I gave the description I gave of it was that the game was played in the right spirit, and I think that was a really accurate way of doing it. Neither of these sides needed to go hammer and tongs, but they still went at it pretty hard. The last game of the season, of course, for the Junior Devils, they do not play this upcoming weekend. So teams are back on the ice in MK, so we'll stop what we're doing momentarily to have a look at that. But we'll just quickly go through the scores in South 2. Basingstoke, as they come back to playing, they played last weekend, they play again this weekend, trying to get their legs back under them. They win by 6-1 against Chelmsford. The Guildford Phoenix, though, confirmed themselves. They are the champions of South 2, having won the Cup recently. That big win last weekend, the weekend before, that I commentated on between the Phoenix and Haringey. The Phoenix needed a point, and they got it by beating the Lee Valley Lions by 14-0. They'll be presented with the trophy this upcoming weekend. Cardiff getting a big win in terms of momentum for the playoffs. They beat the Invicta Mustangs by 4-3 in overtime in Gillingham. And then the other game, of course, was the one I was at. Peterborough winning by 4-2 in Gosport. The full write-up is there for you in our Banners on the Road series on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Games then this weekend in South 2. Bristol take on Peterborough at 6:30. That'll be a good one with playoff implications still on the line. Cardiff take on Streatham in Cardiff Bay. Haringey versus Guildford, which of course we now know will not be the game that we thought it was potentially going to be for the title. That's a 5:30 p.m. face-off at Ali Pally, and a 5:30 p.m. face-off in Lee Valley. The Lions take on the Basingstoke Buffalo. And then Sunday, there will be one game left on the schedule, and it'll be the game that sees the title trophy presented. The Guildford Phoenix will take on the Chelmsford Warriors, where they will be presented with the Wilkinson Conference Trophy. We have a few bits and pieces confirmed for the playoffs already. We know that Guildford and Solent will have a one-game shootout. They cannot get ice for a second leg, so it'll be one game, winner take all, at the Spectrum, Saturday the 30th at 5:30, and then Haringey and Invicta are locked in. They will play at Ali Pally on Saturday the 30th and Sunday the 31st in Gillingham. And the stream has gone wonky for me, which is really not helpful. I'm just going to quickly refresh that. He says, hoping this is going to work now. Is that actually going to work, or am I just going to be left talking about bits and pieces? Either way, we know that a fair bit is locked in for the playoffs for South Hill. Like I said, Guildford and Solent Junior Devils will meet in a one-legged game. They're just no ice time only available for either side on the Saturday, meaning that they will have to face each other in that one-game format. I mean, it's going to take a minor miracle for the Devils to get through that one. And Haringey and Victor, as we've already talked about, they are confirmed in. They have planned their dates. But 3rd, 4th and 5th are not locked in. Cardiff are confirmed in 6th place, so they will play one of 3 teams. They'll either play Peterborough, Bristol or Basingstoke. And we don't really know because results this weekend will determine where teams finish. Peterborough at the moment are in 3rd. They would take on Cardiff, and it would be 4th versus 5th, Bristol versus Basingstoke. Remains to be seen. That Bristol-Peterborough game will have a large bearing on where teams finish, but we will certainly await to see what happens there. Either way, we have gone through the remainder of the games across the NIHL. Across the NHL structure. We talked about all the fixtures and all the bits and pieces, which means we can, if the stream's going to work, focus on the final period of action between the Seahawks and the Lightning. If we can get the stream to work is the key question here, but it does appear that other people are having issues as well. If you let me know whether you're having problems with the stream, that'd be appreciated. Oh, and MK have scored, just as I've turned that on. And again, another one there. They've just been given a little bit too much space. And a lovely shot over the shoulder there. Rory Herman, again, why you sign the big guys to do the big things in the big moments. And we did say that, again, you know, MK have got the propensity to come back and get a couple of goals here. And we are all square again at the beginning of the 3rd period. What is a lovely goal, it should be said. The sort of goal, you know, Herman, not one of the Michigan, not another Michigan from Rory Herman, but a goal of import, as it were, literally and metaphorically speaking. We will see what kind of comes of it. But Hull now, they've been rocked again early in this period. They've got to push back and show what they can kind of get out of the game now, I think. Can they get a 3rd goal? It felt like they had nicked their way in front a little bit. I still maintain that MK have kind of been much more kind of clinical, better on the chances, as it were. The Sobchak short-handed goal being what it was. Scores still as they were in the Elite League at the moment. Big thanks to Andrew for dropping in and giving us those bits and pieces. Lovely finish by Rory Herman, though. I think everybody seems to be sort of saying the same thing. Just having a look at some other bits and pieces. Utterly unrelated to hockey, but I will chuck this out there because I talked about it earlier today on my personal account. I'm not a big reader of fiction, but there is a very, very good book. I'm a very big listener of podcasts. I'm a very big listener to Victoriosity, which is a alternate history, sort of Victorian sort of detective drama kind of thing. The writers of that have just released a book from the same universe called High Voltage. It's by Chris and Jen Sugden. If you're looking for something to read and you like your fiction, go pick it up. It's really good. And then go listen to the podcast Victoriosity that it's all based off as well, because it's amazing. Myself and Paul Shipman, who occasionally does commentary for the Coventry Blaze, are big fands of that one. So if you want something different to go listen to, Victoriosity, go check that out. It'd be really great if the stream could calm itself down and actually work. It'd be really appreciated. But yeah, really fascinated to see MK now on Saturday, given that I've off the back of this, because I'm really interested to see what their response is after this game. Obviously, it's going to depend a little bit depending on what the result is. If Hull suddenly put up 6 goals in the next 16 minutes, it's going to be a very, very different game. But a lot going on. Oh, dearie me. Padded away there by Headley. But like I say, a success, aside from the few blips on the stream here in the third period, in the main, we've got a big successful night for Hull. Cup final in your second season, full building. MK have travelled well, as we knew MK were going to do, because they, for all the things people might say about the Barmy Army, they do travel well. That's a big chance gone begging there. I think it's all well and good talking about those big hits from Emil Svek, but he loses his feet. You want to keep him on your feet so he can kind of then contribute back again to the attack rather than having to pick himself up off the floor, but such is the way of these things. It feels like this might be what we're going to get out of the rest of the game here, is a bit of sort of back and forth and just kind of jostling for position, because ultimately 3-3 benefits the Lightning a lot more than it does Hull. I think Hull really do need to, from a mentality standpoint, need to have their noses in front just to kind of help themselves here. But delighted for everybody. I'm slightly disappointed they didn't get Joe Lamplow to commentate on this game, because I thought it would be hilarious to listen to him talk about getting things into the mixer. But such is the way of it. 15 minutes to go then in the first leg of the National Division Cup final. And 3-3. We've been treated to a cracking game of hockey, all in all. What games are you guys going to on Saturday then becomes the question. Of course, I know where a few of you will be, but interested to hear where you're going. Any thoughts as well? We've just gone through all the playoff ties across that we know across the various divisions. Anything there that stands out to you? Anything that you really, really like the look of? Like I say, there's a couple there. Billingham versus Sheffield in North 2. That looks like a cracker. Those 4th versus 5th are always going to be big games. Staring down the barrel of Bristol and Basingstoke in South 2. Solent versus Invicta, which is going to be great. That's going to be a really, really good game. North, of course, isn't 100% sorted yet, but D-side and that's another good one. Oh, that was a good chance there. It just didn't quite come off. Yeah, D-side and Hull as a 4th versus 5th could be really, really good in the North. And of course, we don't. We get the groups in the National Division, so we don't get that. But yeah, the 4th versus 5th ties across Division 1 and Division 2 look like they could be pretty tasty, all things considered. I'm very tempted by the Gosport, by the game in Gosport on the 31st. Kind of waiting to see what kind of ekes out out of bits and pieces. Part of me kind of wants to go to Oxford just because I've seen a lot of Oxford this year and I've met a lot of really, really nice people there. Not 100% certain exactly where I will go. Certainly that weekend, I will be at a Division 1 or a Division 2 game for the playoff semi-finals, because I'm not going to be at Ali Pally just because of other commitments. I've got a family thing that weekend. It's my mother-in-law's birthday, so I will be at a game at some point that weekend, but it will probably be in the National Division depending on where fixtures go. But certainly want to go to a one of the semi-final games, one of the quarter-final games in Division 1 or Division 2, and I can kind of figure out where to go. We'll see what happens on that one. Guildford take the lead in Dundee. Another goal for Jordan Klimek. 2 goals from the defenseman. Not a traditional goal scorer for the Guildford Flames. Oh, remember to drink water, folks. I was terrible at it for years, and I've gotten so much better at it now. So the stream's gone wonky again. It's not ideal. Although regular viewers of the What's Going stream will know, it's nice that it's somebody else's technology failing rather than my own for once. What we will do is we're just going to shuffle my kit around there just so that I can see things on a good level. There we go, because then everything's just sort of a bit more in my face, ready to work, as it were. So we've been rolling for a couple of hours now. Of course, a couple of little breaks, but what do we think? Has this worked? Do we like it as a concept? Do we maybe try next week and getting some extra people on and doing it that way? Would that work for people? Interested to try different things. We lose nothing but the experiment, right? And I think there's the I think we can sort of see what's happened there. Right, everything's gone. The whole camera's gone out of focus now. There we go. No, which is it gonna? There we go. Lovely stuff there. I mean, what you all can't see, of course, is because here at BOTW Tower, so we have sort of an open plan dining room kitchen. So every time I turn my head that way, I can see all the washing up I have to do, which is really annoying. Owen Bruton is just such a fantastic little player. I remember as well seeing him for the first time and Matty Davies saying to me, watch him, keep an eye on him. And I think a lot of us have ended up doing that just because of who he is. A couple of big whacks there from whoever that was from the Lightning. It's Grinnell. Is that Grinnell Park? Balmer there, which is the pass to nobody. That's very unlike him in that sort of sense. Of course, this season, Declan Balmer's highest personal points tally, having got himself 50 points on the year, is never certainly his highest. I think the thing that concerned me is just Declan Balmer is 28. Like, did anybody else think Declan Balmer was a lot older than 28? And I'm not just talking about because he's got the facial hair like he belongs in Moby Dick, but like oh, Bobby's had the idea there. Lovely work by Sobchuk, and Chamberlain's just not put enough on it to kind of do anything with it. Lots of good ideas. There's lots of good individual moments for Hull, but they're just not quite stringing everything together in quite the way they need to. Malik Martelli, of course, fantastic young player. The pass was there. Bonner. And, of course, the stream is frozen. Although I venture, even though the stream is frozen, what a time. Literally spinning around on that. It has literally frozen. No, it's gone in. They did score. And the stream froze. What a, oh dear. I feel so bad for the Hull guys. Hopefully the recording has picked that up. But yeah. Oh, that's a bit gut-wrenching, really, in terms of the live one. Hopefully, I don't know whether it froze there for other people as well, but it certainly froze for me as Bonner was backhanding it on net. Well, it's gone in. Hull lead again. And we said that Hull needed to... Oh, 2-on-1 here. And it's frozen again. Oh, dear. It's just come back just in time there for... and Salem crashing in again. The netting there causing a problem for the camera. Salem trying to argue that the face-off should be inside the zone. Mr. Sewell is telling him to... Yeah, Salem arguing the face-off should be inside the zone, but no, that has gone outside, as we thought. 10 minutes to go. The stream is cutting in and out, but we're doing our best with it. Good evening, Kaidi. Hope you're doing all right. But yes, no, it seems to have frozen for everybody at just the wrong moment there. But either way, Lee Bonner has the go-ahead goal. The Hull Seahawks leading by 4-3. Yeah, upcoming for Banners on the Wall bits and pieces. So the Saturday, Swindon versus MK. Weekend after, Division, probably like I say, Division 1 or Division 2 playoffs in the South. Unsure 100% where I will end up. Weekend of the weekend after that, so the beginning of April, I will most likely be at a National Division playoff game either the Saturday or the Sunday, unconfirmed as of yet. In terms of where you will find writing bits and pieces from me, of course, I'll have bits on the website. Hockey Stories is kind of on pause just because there's a lot on. Outside of that, I've got stuff I need to do. Svek, oh, not quite. It's not quite sat up there, but yeah. I will be writing again in the commentary program this year. That's okay for me to say. Not 100% certain exactly what I'm writing yet, but the editors and I are working out what will be in there. I have got some bits and pieces I will be doing at Coventry, but I will. It's not set in. It's not out there exactly what I'm doing yet, so I'll wait for the folk to announce that. Otherwise, it's like I said, hockey stories will probably pick up a bit over the summer just because of doing some other bits and pieces. The detail in the Devils. The plan, we've just obviously done one with Mark Duffy. The plan at the moment is after the end of the season, I'll be sitting down with head coach Alex Murray and kind of doing a chat, kind of a breakdown of the season kind of thing. What's gone well, what's not gone well, that kind of thing for the Devils. Because, of course, Devils have got the ability to run the table here from fourth place and get themselves, to the weekend, and also to get themselves a trophy out of it as well. So a lot to kind of be going on there. But yeah, hockey stories will kind of pick up over the summer when there's less to kind of write about. The BOTW What's current stream, we kind of dropped down to kind of doing one a month until the season kicks off again. Though, of course, I don't know what I'm doing next year. I offer a fair bit, and I kind of do bits and pieces. And as always, I'm kind of open to offers as to kind of what people want me to do. Obviously, done a few bits with Oxford, done a few bits with Solent this year. I've commentated in the Elite League. So that could that might be useful as well. Thank you very much, Andrew. I've just seen your message, so that will hopefully help on that front. But yeah, either way, lot coming up from me. But like I say, during the summer, we'll be looking at kind of some other bits and pieces, kind of doing some more in-depth stories. There was a chap I tweeted out about like the Romanian chap. I might do some more digging on him and kind of put together like a more formal hockey stories piece about him. He's such a fascinating dude. With a weird hockey crossover. So might have a look at kind of doing that. But yeah, certainly a lot happening in BOTW land as well. Of course, I feel like I've been so busy this year as well into the bargain. When you think of, I haven't really missed a week of play. So there's been a Banners on the Road pretty much every week from at least every game I've gone to. Where I've gone to England, Scotland and Germany for games this year. There's been hockey stories pieces. I've commentated on Elite League. I've commentated on National League. I've commentated on South 2. I've done a few bits and pieces in a few different places. We've commentated over Spaces. We've tried different things on the stream. We had a director of England ice hockey live on the show, which was pretty surreal. Like, it's been a pretty decent year, and of course we are. What are we? It's the 20th day, so 4 days away. 4 days away from the 13th birthday of Banners on the Wall as well. So. Yeah, like, obviously it's quite tough because I'd much rather prefer the Bison being around. But I feel like I've tried to make the best out of this year. I know it's not been perfect, and obviously I've ruffled a few feathers along the way with a few pieces that I've written that were necessary things to do, I think, in some ways, because they're stories that needed to be told, and it's not just about telling happy stories, it's about telling the stories that need to be told, even if they're bad. But, that was an interesting hit. But certainly I think I can be relatively pleased about where I am, all things considered. Either way, 4-3 Hull with, we've got about 7 and a bit minutes left here. Oh, the camera's having a mare. All went a bit blurry there as the camera couldn't figure out where its focus was. This is all a bit scrappy and a bit sloppy here from Hull. They need to tighten themselves up a little bit, all things considered. Herman not happy there, but the post long gone from its moorings by the time he turned and fired. But there's a few interesting moments here that kind of had lots of angry words, not necessarily off of the back of the incident you think it's going to have been, but Of course, hockey being a game of mentality, shouting and poking and prodding at each other. Somebody riling up Bobby Chamberlain, which of course is a terrific idea, of course. As he probably should be there, Herman, called back onto the ice. That's the joy, of course. You can try and sneak a change, but if you get caught, you get caught. And of course, it is Hull's change being at home. Thanks, of course, for joining us for this one. Like I say, we've been on air now for the better part of 2 and a bit hours doing this. So when the game finishes, we'll catch man of the matches and then we'll probably just call time for bits and pieces. So anything you want to chat about, like I say, it doesn't necessarily have to be the game. Any other bits of hockey, like throw questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything into the chat. Let's have a chat about anything we can do as time kind of ticks down here on the game. But thank you for joining us for the experiment, of course. Like I say, it's different for me, different for you guys as well. I know obviously it happens a lot on platforms like Twitch. Doesn't really happen in British hockey. So again, if not you, who? I suppose is kind of the way I would talk about it. And I'd say that as well for kind of doing anything. Do you want to write about hockey? Write about British hockey. Do you want to podcast about British hockey? Podcast about British hockey. Do you want to stream about it? Stream about it. Like, this isn't just about me doing things. I'm quite happy to kind of give, if you want to have a chat about how to do stuff, then drop me a line. Penalty against Nathan Salem, yeah? MK getting very riled up here. I'm not sure one of the young Hamills particularly wants to get himself into an altercation with Declan Balmer. That feels like a bit of a zero-sum game. But yeah, like, that's the thing I kind of say to people. Like, if you want to do it, have a go at it, because that's all this was for me. Like, 13 years deep into doing it, that it's a work of perseverance, and the reason why I've gotten anywhere close to being good is because I've stuck at it. And actually, if you want to try stuff, then try stuff. If you don't want to publish it on your own site and you maybe think like, and you want someone to have a read of stuff, I'll have a read of it for you. I'll have a listen to it for you. Like, think about 4,000 and Counting. I listened to the original 4,000 and Counting first episode and gave Nikki and at the time Bandy and Mac feedback on what they done. And like, Nikki's gone from kind of strength to strength. This isn't about me I don't own the space, right? The space belongs to kind of all of us, and it's about, you as a creative person making something that you think people are going to kind of follow along with, and then developing and improving and growing and developing and growing and improving and kind of doing that. And when stuff doesn't work, you pivot, and when stuff does work, you lean into it. And ultimately, for me, it's been about seeing what's there and using the tech and stuff. We have some big stuff coming in the next few weeks. Looking forward to sharing it with everyone. I'll say this as well, actually. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. There's an episode of 4,000 Count that's just come out with Diamond Hands, Daniel Amesbury. And I remember I was watching a YouTube video where Amesbury was mic'd up. And Nikki will attest to this. I sent him a Facebook message saying, you've got to get this guy on your podcast because he is absolutely picture made for 4,000 and Counting. And Nikki had already got him lined up. So great minds think alike on that one. And of course, you know that Nikki's going to be, we'll break out those interviews with those kind of guys. That's a great goal. That is a great goal from MK. And that is the danger they possess. On the power play, that little bit of extra space and a bit of an extra hit that it kind of really didn't need to be made, and it's just allowed the man to pinch in and tap it home. Dylan Lawrence again. Parity restored. Yeah. 4 and a bit minutes left to play here. 4-all. Big goal for MK. Uh-oh. And it's 5-4. Huge goal. Huge goal. And what a mistake by the Seahawks there. And just everybody stands away. It stands up. Is that Rio Grinnell Park? I think that is. And that is a kick in the teeth for Hull. And just an absolute brain fart there from the Seahawks. And they trail, having led 4-3. So having led 3-2, they trail 5-4. And of all the people as well, this is the other big thing about it. A lot of people lean into those top end guys for MK. Grinnell Park, very much part of the depth, and just never gave up on the puck between him and his line mate. And Hull now need to get something out of this game with just over 3.5 minutes to go. And what do Hull have left in the tank? Plenty of time still. 3.5 minutes is plenty. Plenty of time to do something with. But that looked very, very close to being out, but good work there by Jamie Chalcott to at least put the puck on net. Not really much of a troubling shot there for Jordan Headley, but face off in the zone, which is what you want. Of course, don't expect a pull of the netminder, because there's literally no point in doing so in a two-legged tie. It's just about trying to be defensively responsible, because of course here's the thing, Hull have won in MK. Like, they don't have to go into MK particularly fearing being a goal down, but it's that mentality factor, isn't it? It's just about knowing that you're ahead and knowing that you've got something on your side. But maybe Hull will respond to the fact that they've chucked that one away at the last minute. I mean, Matty Davis is going to be spitting feathers about it. Because, just didn't need to happen. Like, the other goals were all great crafted chances by MK. And actually they were less about Hull making big mistakes and more about MK kind of exploiting something that was there. That's a mistake from Hull. Like, they've just absolutely coughed that one up into nothing. Just great hustle. And Grinnell Park just steps into it and blasts it home. McLaughlin with no stick at the moment, trying to get it back towards... You can see players poking it back towards the netminder, but he's not getting the opportunity to pick it up at the moment, and now he finally does, just heading towards the last 2 minutes. I can only imagine the hearts and mouths of some of the MK fans joining us on the stream. A big thank you for those of you who didn't travel to Hull this evening, who've come and joined the party here. It's been a very, very good performance actually from MK. Hull's has been full of heart and full of gusto, but I do feel MK have probably been the better team in this game, if I'm honest. Like I say, it's just that little element of quality and a little bit of extra thought to what they've done. Obviously, we're going to see all the big names out here in the last little bit. Say the game in MK in September, Lightning were comfortable for 2 periods. We had a very poor third that night, but that's the problem. Like, but part of that is also the reason why MK aren't champions, because just that, again, those sort of switches off in really, really key moments. Should you have been beating Hull? I mean, arguably, yeah. The team that finished bottom last year. And this is the thing here, that Hull should not be just letting guys walk up the middle of the ice off the face-off. And I wonder now whether the idea for Hull is to not concede, see what you can get at in the last minute, but not worry too much if you do. 3-on-1 though, if Lightning won it, and he just didn't make a connection on the puck at all. Hull looking like they are content here to not concede again, more than pushing too hard to score, as it were. Albeit, MK will want to be vigilant, because the last thing you want to do is make a mistake at this point. Icing with 12 seconds to go. Well, the team that have been, I think, probably been the better side are the ones who are ahead on the balance of the 60 minutes. Matty Davis furiously calling for a timeout. So the Seahawks there, you can see on the camera if you've been watching the stream, that Matty Davies calls the timeout with 12 seconds to play. The shot there at the MKL Barmy Army. We'll see what can be, or can anything be crafted out with 12 seconds to play. You know what? If Seahawks can get a clean win in the face off, they can't. That one is probably going to be all she wrote. MK do not need to do anything here. And while having struggled against them for the majority of the season, the MK Lightning have gone into Hull and have come out of the first leg with a 1-goal advantage, 5-4. Going into the second leg next week in MK. The big night in Hull, thrown away at the death, unfortunately for the Seahawks. Obviously putting themselves in a good position. They were 3-2 up heading into the period. And then MK, Nathan Salem gives up that penalty. They hit on the power play. And then just immediately off that face-off, just a brain fart from the Seahawks in terms of team defence. Great hustle from the Lightning, where the puck then is set up for Rio Grinnell Park, who currently has the goal that has MK in front. But this is not done yet, as Emmett Sveck and Jordan McLaughlin there saying some very earnest words to each other. Sveck obviously very, very upset about something. I'm very happy with that, Anthony, says Jamie. I'm not surprised at all, given the fact that given that you've struggled against them in league play. In the game you needed to get a result against them, you've got the result against them, Jamie. So I'm not surprised that you're pleased about that. There's a Max Stewart there, the one doing the business there and chasing down that puck on the at the death. So we'll see who the man of the matches are. Dylan Lawrence getting the man of the match for the Lightning. I think that's probably fair enough. He had a pretty solid performance all in all. Flames win in Dundee. I can see the Devils 3-0 up. Jamie O'Neill with a third goal there for Cardiff, sort of ruining the night for the Steelers, who are coughing up a bit there. But I think all in all, Hull will be disappointed in that. I think the Lightning were the better side over the 60 minutes of play that we've seen there tonight, if we're honest. But Hull have stuck with them, and Hull have a puncher's chance. A 1-goal lead is not safe. Especially with a team like Hull with the quality that they've got up front. But they need to strike first next week, I think, is probably the way that will go. And I think that's probably where that sits, is that Hull cannot let MK score first next week. Hull need to come out and they need to push and they need to get a goal and they need to get a goal early, is where we sit on that one. Was it next Tuesday? Well, I think it was next Wednesday. We'll figure that one out next week, see what we do on that front. We'll just have to wait, of course, because Hull are going to do their shirt off the back and bits and pieces. Either way, once Hull's man of the match is done, we'll end the stream there. Because like I said, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I think it's time to knock off here and have a try of doing some other bits and pieces. So, like I say, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for kind of joining the experiment and joining this in. Certainly worth a go. Worth a go again, I think. Like I say, maybe next time we kind of do it as kind of a bit more of a round table of us all watching it. That might be quite fun. Maybe get some other podcasters on. Maybe get some other people from British Hockey on. There's some options here, I think. There's some options here. Just seeing. And was there a little Seahawks fan coming out to do those bits? But yeah, what do Hull need to do next week? They can't give MK the amount of space they've done at times in that game. They need to be a bit more creative in attack, I think is probably what I'd say there. That Sobchak goal there was brilliant. As actually both fourth goals for both teams were pretty decent. Sobchak's was the third, but the Bonner goal was pretty tasty as well. Yeah, it's a very frustrated looking Hull side, and I do not blame them. 2,600 on Tuesday night in MK. Well, we've got to do something, I suppose. Just seeing who the man of the match is for the Seahawks. Big shout out to the folk at the Seahawks for dear me, this is almost like a Swindon post-match presentation, the amount of stuff that's going on here. But yeah. A lot to happen on Tuesday. Is that Sobchak getting man of the match? It is indeed. Owen Sobchak with the man of the match there for the Seahawks, which fair enough, that short-handed goal was very, very good. But yeah, shout out to the folk at Hull for the stream. Obviously, a few technical issues there at the back end of the third period, but camera quality is pretty good when it works. Commentary is pretty solid as well, so definitely can't argue that. Either way, like I say, 2.5 hours, pretty solid kind of stuff here. So I think it is time to. I think we can. We can see what will happen. Obviously, a lot of hockey to be played over the course of the weekend, and we will see what happens. Of course, if you're in Swindon on Saturday, do come say hello. More than happy to, whether you're an MK fan or whatnot, do come and find me. I'll be lurking down on the floor in the corner, but it'd be like I say, fascinating game. Interested to see how MK respond on Saturday. Either way, we're all done and dusted for this one. It's been a long one, so we will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the NHL. Follow my journey through British hockey through the Banners on the Road series. Of course, you can check out our hockey story series as well. Long form pieces of content, whether written or audio visual, taking you into the and behind some of the great stories of hockey from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war and beyond, with hockey stories over on the website. Of course, there's the back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast and our free-to-download tabletop ice hockey game, Dice Hockey, that you can download and play with some bits and pieces just around your house. All I ask is that if you do download it and you do enjoy it, please do chuck a few quid towards Parkinson's UK. The game is free, but if you do enjoy it, a few coins towards Parkinson's UK would be appreciated. My dad has Parkinson's. It's a horrible disease, and if we can get some money towards research and eventually a cure, that would be fantastic. But there is a ton of stuff. Like I say, 13 years. At the moment, we stand at, 12 12 years, 352 days worth of content over on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Facebook.com/bannersonthewall. If you like getting your news and bits and pieces through your Facebook feed, go over and like the page. Everything that goes onto the website and the links for bits and pieces will kind of come through the Facebook feed too. Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it, is @bannersotw. That's basically the best place to kind of keep up with me and my kind of rolling commentary on hockey across Britain and the world over there on the Twitter. We've just hit 3,000 followers, which is for a website that writes about 2nd, 3rd and 4th division British ice hockey. I think it's not half bad, all things considered, considering the fact I've not pushed the Twitter as hard as I could do. But either way, if you like what you see from Banners All, the other thing you can check out, of course, is our virtual busking hat over at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. Never going behind a paywall or anything like that, but if you do enjoy what you see, if you want to help us keep the lights on and the wheels turning, a few quid into the hat is always massively appreciated at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. But of course, if you can't remember any of those links, that's the joy of YouTube. Everything is down there in the description, and it's time to feed the algorithm hamster, make him fat, make him happy. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like the videos, share the videos, and of course, every Wednesday night during the British ice hockey season, we are here, the BOTW What's Current Stream, the best live show to catch up on all things across the entirety of the NIHL, from Leeds to Lee Valley, from the National Division as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. You can find that all here on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/bannersonthewall. Well, a mammoth session, nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes later, we're done. Thank you very much for joining in what has been another experiment, but a bit of fun. Hopefully people enjoyed it. Hopefully people liked it. We will see whether the opportunity to kind of do this comes up again before the end of the season. Do we do something on Tuesday, or should we just all sit back and enjoy the game? We'll throw that out there and see what people think. But either way, there's another weekend's worth of hockey that we've got to get through first. Be happy. And if you can't be happy, then wherever you are, then please do be safe. As my friend Scotty Was would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so long till next time. Promise if we don't do a live stream, the next week's show probably be back to what's regular time. Thanks for joining us. MK have their noses in front, but come Tuesday night, will they have the National Division Cup in their grasp? We'll find out next week.